Welcome back to the 2019 version of Won't You Meet My Neighbor. We are at the La Quinta Arts Festival, the beautiful Coachella Valley in California. And I am fortunate enough to be at the show. It is probably one of the most beautiful venues in the country, and the work is top-notch. Among that work, my neighbor today from Denver, Colorado, is James LaCasse, and he is a sculptor, and here's his work, and here's James. Not only is his work awesome, but I really enjoy him as a person, and I'm anxious to hear a little more about this work. So James, first of all,
this neighbor,
yes, how long have you been doing this? When did you get going?
Let's see, I graduated from business school way back in 1990 and kind of floundered with this for a couple years, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And so I've been doing it since then, so maybe 27 years.
Okay, so, and then did you get going with the sculpture doing the bronze work, or was there another medium involved at the outset?
The outset, I actually had a friend that did some stuff in terracotta, and I always enjoyed art. So I just jumped on that, did a couple pieces, and bronze always fascinated me, and like most people, I had no idea how it was done. So I sculpted some pieces in wax and brought it to a foundry, and here I am.
Okay, well, I want to talk specifically about some of these pieces, because when I see your work, much like any artist, you know it's a LaCasse. I mean, it has that feel, and luckily for you and all of us, that I don't see many people knocking you off. I mean, this is really interesting. One thing that strikes me, has always kind of struck me with your work, is there's something theatrical about it. Do you feel
that's
that?
True. Yes, I guess that's true.
Okay.
It wasn't my direct intention, because I've never did anything in theater, but it kind of started, I was doing more classical forms, kind of knew the anatomy, and like dancers, their gestures, their physiques, that whole thing.
Sure.
Kind of just made a great subject matter. And then I kind of evolved from there to these more stylized forms. So I guess that's maybe why there's some theatrical elements to it.
Sure. And I mean, you get the mask type things going on, and of course the kind of gesture motif, that's repeated quite a bit. This looks like there's a story. I mean, is there a story, or is it just, hey, this looks cool, I'm going to put this together?
No, I mean, yeah, the piece is really, it's called The Confidant, but in a way it's kind of looking at his own internal world.
Sure.
Listening to yourselves, all the drama that we have going on in our head, the voices and everything. So it's kind of a play off of that.
So it can either go to it's almost one of those comedy tragedy type things. It depends on the voice in your head. It could go either way, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the mask, kind of a duality thing.
Sure. And I've also just it seems as though more recently I've started seeing elements of glass in your work.
Yes.
Like the unicyclist.
Yeah, I mean, I love glass. It just has such a unique property to it, and yeah.
Okay, come on
over.
It
combines well.
Here's another example with the glassing. That is glassing the guitar.
No, I was doing them with glass. I didn't have time to get one done, so this one's lucite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's equally effective.
Yeah, but
sure.
Glass just has that little extra sparkle.
Yeah. How many shows do you typically do in a year? Do you sell most of your work through the art shows, or do you make heavy use of galleries?
Yeah, off and on I've done the galleries over the years, but there's challenges with showing in the gallery. So yeah, I'm doing 10 to 15 a year.
Okay.
And I love doing the art shows because you meet the buyer directly,
right.
You meet other artists, so it's inspiring being on the road.
Well, I share your passion, if you will, there, because I really like making that connection. It also seems quite often that I see some kinetic elements in your pieces, and again, a bit of a trademark. I mean, it's not like it's kinetic yard art, but even in an interior, boy, it wouldn't take much to get some movement going.
Yeah, I mean, they're actually meant to be indoor pieces,
Yeah,
once these get going. it's 5 to 10 minutes that they'll go. But you know, I've always loved kinetic work. I love Calder's work. Just nobody really does it with the figure.
Right.
So,
right.
You know.
Well, they're very, very effective. We'll take another look at one over here.
Don't break it, neighbor.
Okay, you bought it. What? Can you talk about any? Are you being pulled in new directions? I mean, it seems like we all have ideas of where we might want to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the balance that ultimately this is a business. So I would love to be even more experimental. Ideally, really abstracting the figure. And, you know, I'm playing with some pieces doing that, but sometimes I kind of scare my audience. They're like, where's he going?
Well,
He's lost it.
I don't find it scary. I mean, the emotion in this piece, and this is, you know, what, 2/3 life size, I suppose.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to say because they're exaggerated forms.
Sure.
So, you know,
very cool.
It is almost a 6-foot piece, but is that life size? She has a pretty tiny head.
True enough. Yeah, I mean, there's that
tiny cranial capacity.
I think of those old. Are they like the Egyptian sculpts, or the horses with the heads that are really quite small?
Yeah, you know. So basically, again, I learned classically. So the typical human 7.5 heads high.
Yeah.
And then I just started playing with the proportions from there, and there's not a specific reason this is why they have tiny heads.
Sure.
I just like it because in a way it kind of makes the figure look grander.
Well, it does that for sure. Are there certain parts of the country that your work seems to resonate a little better with than others?
I'd probably say the East Coast.
Okay.
More.
So it's good to have you in the
Northeast
Southwest.
even more. Yeah.
So here we are.
Although that said, this is probably the most beautiful show.
I agree.
In the country of this type of show, this outdoor model.
Yeah, the venue and the quality of the work is.
Yeah, it's top notch. It's top notch.
Really
the
great.
way they promote the show, the quality of the art. You know, as long as you don't have gale force winds, this is just an unbelievable sight.
Well, it wouldn't be La Quinta without some gale force winds.
Good point.
So we've gotten those, but we're out of the way. We're on the last day, and I know that both of us have a lot of work to do and a lot of people to make happy.
Yeah.
So all I can say is it's been great to be your neighbor.
Thanks for being my neighbor, Jay. I love you, man.
Yeah, okay, let's knock him dead. Thank you, James.
Right
Bye-bye.
on.